All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Google Workspace overview, the formerly known as G Suite. So just in the chat, give me a quick heads up on how familiar you are with Google Workspace, whether you use it already in your local unit, just to kind of give me an idea where we're at. For those of you who have not had it before, or even if you use Gmail, a lot of us have it for our personal emails, and a lot of these tools you can use without having Google Workspace. So that is something to keep in mind. One of the perks, though, of Google Workspace, it is free for 501c3s, which if you are under PTA, you are a 501c3, so you can absolutely get it and have a little bit more advanced tools and a little bit more efficiency. It'll also give you the ability to have your own domain for your PTA. So, for example, my county council, we are whatever our name is at sccpta.com. So it is a Gmail address, but you can, by signing up for this, you can do it, have your extension be at scp, at abcpta.com. You can customize your email address, and you get to manage everything within an admin console, which we will get to in just a minute. So to get Google Workspace for your nonprofit is pretty simple. You just Google Workspace for nonprofits, and you'll end up at this page. Now, to get this, you usually need to register with TechSoup first. So I'm going to start there real quick. TechSoup is a technology, almost like a product catalog for nonprofits. So you do need to come in here, upload your 501c3, and there will be a lot of discounts and or free services in addition to Google Workspace that are through TechSoup, but Google Workspace will use TechSoup to verify that you are indeed a nonprofit. So it's just TechSoup.org, and you sign up here. You'll click this button to join TechSoup. Click this real quick. You can put in your first and last name, your nickname. You'll create a login. You will want to do this under the main PTA email address that you already have, whether that's the president or if you have an admin email, whatever your email address that is your main email for your PTA, that's kind of what you will want to use. You can sign up for newsletters, and it will take you through the rest of the process. You will need your 501c3 documentation. If you have any questions about how to get that, you can let me know. But for the most part, you're just going to contact the state office, and assuming you have no issues with compliance and everything's good to go, they can provide that for you. All right. Once you are registered with TechSoup, you'll come over here to start with Google for Nonprofits, and you'll see this button up here at the top that says Get Started. So one thing I do want to kind of cover, one of the things that they're going to ask you is, do you already have the domain name? So if you already have a domain name, so like, for example, we have sccpta.com. We have that through Weebly. We started that before we got Google Workspace. So if you already have an existing website, you absolutely can use that. Now your domain is going to be your website here at the end. So our website is www.sccpta.com. So you can see all of our emails are going to be at sccpta.com. If you don't already have one during the application process, you can use Google Websites to create a domain name or create your website. So I say this, you want to make sure you make this decision in advance, because once you set up your website, transferring domains and all of that can be a little bit complicated. So you can message me if you have any problems with that or have any issues. I can always help you switch domains. But whether you're using Weebly, Wix, HostGator, whatever you're using to host your account, you can go ahead and use this, because this is what you'll use to sign up for the Google for Nonprofits. Because I already have it, I won't let me walk you through the entire application process, but it just asks a lot of the basic information, such as the PTA name. Again, it's going to ask for this domain. If you don't have one, it can create one. And then you'll create the first and primary account. So for us, it's admin@sccpta.com. Once you have that, let me come over here. Oh, this thing at the top keeps popping down. Sorry about that, guys. All right. Once you get approved, you will get this beautiful workspace that you see. This your admin dashboard. When it comes to admin, again, I want to make sure that I reiterate this 1,000 times. When you have an admin in your organization, make sure you always have two. So for us, I am the admin here. I have another person that shares the admin email box with me, but our president email address is also set up as an admin. So if I come here to users, we have 20 users. This is where you can come in to manage how many users that you want to have. And so if you want to look here For example, in the past, we had people use their names, and that wasn't really the best idea because we want email boxes that can be transferred from person to person. So for example, this is our reflections email box. This can replace those paper binders. For those of you who have been around a while and have had a big paper binder handed to you with all the instructions, everything that's happened in the past, those are wonderful and look great on a shelf, but they're not as useful as having a digital workbox that you can transfer from person to person. And also you don't have to keep updating email addresses on contacts. So you don't have to update your PTA email address, say, hey, if you want reflections, contact Joe. And then next year it's like, all right, contact Mary. All right, contact Lacey. You don't have to keep updating that. When you come in here, you can create these for all of your positions, especially the ones that you keep from year to year. So if it's a temporary thing, you don't necessarily need it. Like if you're doing a one-time committee for a carnival, you don't need to have a carnival at your pta.com email address, but you can create like folders and stuff for that. So when you come in here, you want to create these folders, and then you can kind of manage who does it. So once you create a user, you'll have the ability to make, can give them a photo. You can add alternate emails. So here you can see this has my phone number, my email. So if in the event this gets locked out, it can contact me, but it'll also contact the president email. There's always a backup, because the one thing you don't want to do is only have one admin and something happen where either that person gets locked out, or maybe they decide they don't want a PTA anymore, and or they move or something and you lose contact. Always make sure you have a backup admin. So we have the admin PTA here and the president as our admin. Once you are in here, then you can come into all of your apps and you can manage how all of your users use the apps. So you can control what services are or are not allowed. For example, here we don't turn on groups for businesses because we don't particularly use that, but we have everything else on and activated for everybody that's in our board to use. You can create different groups within it. So you can have an EC group, you can have a board group. You don't want to get too many different groups. You don't want to like split your work up too much. You want to try and keep everything neat, organized, and slim. So I don't want to go too far into this because I do want to make sure we have time to go through all the apps. But what kind of questions do we have about the admin dashboard overall before we start asking about any, before we start going into the actual apps that we can use? Do we have anything about signing up for it? Any questions like that? And yes, come at the end, but my email, Uma, to your question is media@sccpta.com. You can always, and I'm going to drop my phone number in the chat. You can always text me as well. I don't particularly answer the phone because there's way too many spammers, but you can always email or text me at any time. But before I do that, any questions here on the dashboard? All right, is everybody awake? All right, cool, close enough. All right, so now let's hop into the actual things that you can do. So the first thing you'll want to do, and this business profile manager, this is kind of something you can set up once and you don't have to continue to do it. So again, I've got to switch back over to the right email address, and then you can come in here and you can manage your Google profile. Now this is going to be how your PTA shows up in search reviews, basically. So you can come in here, you can set up whether you can be found in search engines, you can put the address, like usually that's your school address, etc. So this is a one-time setup thing. You can go in here, whether you want people to show you in searches, you can put in keywords on what people can be searching for. So if people are searching for PTA in Curry County, they can find you. Let me see here. So that app is just kind of a one and done. And then here, all right, so then the next app we'll hop into is Gmail. So Gmail is pretty self-explanatory. I would hope that most of you have at least seen it. It's very similar to Yahoo Mail or any other kind of email box that you have. There is a lot that you can use into Gmail. We're going to dive into this later in a later class. So here is where you can start writing your emails. And you can see I need to update my signature here, but you can create these for your teams. You can have pre-planned responses. You can snooze your emails. You can create templates. That one's one of my favorite ones. So if there's a particular email that you send all the time, so you can be like, join our PTA and like, hello, here is the link. Obviously, you'll want to do this a lot prettier, but if there ever is an email that you send frequently, or let's say it's your monthly newsletter, for example, so you don't have to keep composing emails over and over and over again, you can come down here and you can save these as templates, all kinds of cool stuff that you can do within Gmail. Once you're in Gmail, you can also expand your calendar over here to the right. See, we have events coming up. This is Google Keep. Again, we'll go into any of these details later, but you can create tasks for yourself. You can bring up your contacts list here, everything right within the Gmail app. So it has a lot of this stuff just right here at your fingertips. You can switch over to other apps as well. And then you can see what you've sent. You can create labels to organize stuff for yourself. And then also in here, if you have it turned on, you can go to Google Chat. Now, our team doesn't particularly use Google Chat. We use Facebook Messenger, but this is an option that is here for you if you don't already have something set up, because this is super easy to use. Again, it keeps everything combined, so we can start a chat. So I can start one more here. I'm going to talk to our president, see if she's awake this morning. She's probably going to be like, Rachel, what are you doing? And you're like, teaching a class. Yay. Okay, so I sent her this message. She's going to be very confused, but she'll get it. And then once we get it here, now that chat is going to be here right available in my email. So if something happens, she sends me an email, I can jump right into composing an email or sending whatever I need to do. You can also create spaces for your teams to go in through and then pull in additional apps. So spaces are here. These are kind of like almost like mini group chats. So you can do that and kind of create save files, very similar. And then you can also hop right into Google Meet here too as well. So if you have a meeting that's scheduled, you can create one, and we'll hop into all of these in just a minute. But all of these tools are right here available in your Gmail inbox. We can also talk about creating signatures and all of that in our next class. So any questions on Gmail before we hop into the next one? All right. So the next thing that you're going to want to really pay attention to is Google Drive. It's probably one of my most favorite things ever. And this is what you will want to utilize the most amongst your team. So when you have a drive, there's two different types of drives. You're going to have your personal drive and you're going to have a shared drive. So I would recommend just creating one. You can have multiple drives. I personally don't recommend having that many. One is usually good because you can, I'm going to click on this one. So for example, you have one shared drive. We put all of our team with access to it. And then every single chair or we have like just our basic files folder, but then every chair has their own folder within the team drive. And if you can see these little faces here, that means that some of these files are shared with other people outside of our organization. Typically, those are our committee members. So for me, my media chair, I have someone who helps me with TikTok. So they are shared with my folder. You can always take those people off at any time. So if you come up here, you can manage who has access to the folders. So you can see it's everybody here who is on our team. So the only reason you may want to open up a second drive is if you have something that you are sharing with families, for example. So teacher wish list, you can create a Google Drive for that and put the link to that drive on your website where people can just view only. So that's something you can come in, update, adjust your teacher wish list. If you have like getting to know you forms, if you want families to be able to drop pictures in instead of emailing them to you, that would be a good reason to have another drive set up that families can access. Again, you want to be careful with things like that. You have the ability, and I'm going to show you what your options are here. So if I was going to add something, for example, I'm going to pretend I'm adding myself. When you add people to your drive, you have a few things. So you can add a manager. So when you add someone as a manager, you really don't want to do this with anyone outside of your board, because a manager can do anything. Content manager, again, you don't want this to be anyone outside of your board. They can do pretty much anything with your with this drive. So you don't want it to be a stranger on the internet coming to do it. Now, contributor, this is kind of where you would want to put your families if you want to share this link and let anyone be a contributor. What this means is these people can add files, they can edit them, but they cannot delete them. And you can go into your settings and kind of control the delete settings. Typically, what I would recommend is your delete files are permanently deleted after 30 days. So that's in case someone accidentally deletes something. And I have had one person accidentally delete the entire drive, and they panicked, and it was fine. It was completely fine because they just deleted it. You can get it back. So I would not recommend permanent deletion too quickly. But this also means that, you know, your families can come in, you had an amazing event, you didn't get a lot of pictures, but your families can drop in any pictures that they're willing to share. Commenters, that's pretty self-explanatory. They can see what's in the drive, they can leave a comment on things, but they can't add, edit, or delete it. And then viewer could be something like if you have reflections and you want to drop all of your children's entries and put them on your website or them with just families, you can make people where they can just view things on your drive. So there's so many different things in here that you can do. You can star things, you can search for different things. So if I just want to see all of our PDFs, I want to see all of our videos, I want to see all of our presentations, you can search that way as well. And the most important thing with Drive is keeping things organized. So for example, everybody has their own folder. We keep everything exactly in different files, and keeping everything labeled. You want to have a good naming convention. So everything kind of needs to be named exactly the same, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's pretty high level on Google Drive. Any questions here? All right, very cool. And if you're seeing here, last thing here, whenever you're looking on a folder, you can also see the activity. So if you want to, you can see who has done what in a folder, especially if you're admin. You can see who's moved stuff around. If in the event someone, like I said, accidentally deletes everything, you can see who did it and when, and kind of also tend to see what they were doing. You know, you have people on your team that aren't tech savvy. You want to absolutely train them and help them as much as you can. We're happy to help and train as well. But this gives you an idea of who's been adding what. All right, so let's hop off of Google Drive because most people are familiar with that. Google Docs, we do have a training on this one later as well, so I'm not going to do a whole lot here, but Google Docs is very, you know, it's word processing ability, just like Microsoft Word, if you're familiar with it. So you can name it, you can see the history. So if I do this, as soon as I start typing, it now has a history. So I can come in here. And this is fabulous if you guys all want to work on something together. So you can name a specific version. So let's, for example, you're working on your standing rules. You can save a version or you can keep working on it. You can all be in here at the same time. So let's say we had standing rules, we want to make edits, we want to have suggestions. Maybe we're doing a carnival planning and we have one person working on this, but we're still talking through it. You want to have multiple people in here if you're having a discussion and need to type. Another possibility is if someone's put something together, like they put together a flyer and they want to tag someone. So let's say this flyer is awesome. And I need my president to tell me if she thinks this flyer is awesome. So I can highlight that and tag her. Say, do you love my flyer? And then I can assign it to her. This is kind of why I love these documents, because I can assign this to her and she can come in and make comments. She can make edits. So that, again, when you're making a document, you have the same restrictions. If I just want her to comment, I don't want her to touch my flyer. I can just leave her a commenter. If I want her to fix it herself, I can make her an editor. And then you also have the ability to let anyone in your organization edit. I'm not going to go too far into this because we do have an extensive training on this later today, but you can do the same thing. Share, you can download your documents as different versions, which can be very helpful, especially downloading it as a PDF. You can do any of these other options as well, depending on where you're wanting to send it. There's an option here is also for approvals. You can use the approval workflow instead of doing this. You can also do editing. So if I want to say, blah, let's keep typing. You can do all kinds of different options here. So if we want to do edits, we can do We can do alignments, line spacing, everything that you're looking here is right up here at the top. So you also have this one right here. I'm going to call it real quick. You can do review and suggest edits. So when you have this, it switches you over to editing mode. So if you see this where edits become suggestions, and then people can just review it or editing. So default, you're going to start in editing. But if you want to make a suggestion to someone and not actually change their drawing, you can do it like this. And I'm going to say flyer is, and I want to change it to R. So what that does is it kind of creates a task over here as a suggestion. And whoever I send this to, whoever sees it, is going to say, hey, let's change that suggestion. So if they hit accept, it's going to change it. And then if they decline, it's going to leave it as is. So you can do this extensively. Again, this is great for standing rules. Anything where you're all trying to work on a document together, you can suggest edits that can get approved or not approved. So this one, I'm going to show you accept, and it just changes it. And if we come in here, we can come back to our version history, and we can see what the original version was, which was blank, what the current version was, and we can see who's been making all the changes, which is pretty cool. So Google Docs, any questions here? All right, next we are going to go to Google Sheets. Now this one is basically Microsoft Excel. It is a spreadsheet. And with all of these, I do want you guys to notice along the top, there's templates. Use your templates. They are amazing. They build in the formulas. We do have detailed training on this later this week, but Google Sheets is going to be fabulous for your treasurer or anybody that is managing any kind of data. Your membership chair, for example, is a great one. They may need to pull reports on their members and pull those reports out of Member Hub. You can come in here, make pivot tables. You can do all kinds of stuff with data within Google Sheets. And just like everything else, so I'm going to click on Template Gallery, go to General. Let's say I'm going to make a schedule. Here's another common one. Let's say you've got an event coming up. You want to make a schedule. And if you guys signed up for this, you notice this is the one that I use to create the schedule for this training. So you can create the days along the top, and you can do the same thing that we just did before. If I want to type something in here, I'm going to assign this to Shelly. She's going to work that day. And I can do right click, and I can comment, or the comment button's up here. And I can be like, hey, Shelly, can you work this day? And then I'm going to assign this to her. Again, it's going to pop up. Do I want her to edit it, or do I want her to be able to comment on it? And you can do the same thing in and out. You can edit just like we did with Google Docs. You can do the same thing here. You can email this directly from Google Sheets. You can download it as a PDF, which is great if you want to make a spreadsheet and then be able to show it to people. Or you can also, just take a screenshot if you like, whatever is easier for you. And you can do the same sharing. You also have the ability to save all of these things and make them available offline. A word of caution with working on documents offline though. If someone works on them and then uploads them, you're going to have the version that you had before you went offline. So let's say I take this version offline, I start working on it, which is fine. Like if you're on an airplane, you don't have internet access, or you're just going to be away from it for a while, you can make it online. But if someone comes in and makes an edit while you're offline, you're not going to have those edits. If you upload yours, it might overwrite everything that they've done, depending on if you're editing the exact same thing within the document. So Google Sheets is also great for adding formulas. So if, for example, I'm going to pretend I'm a treasurer and I'm trying to make a budget here. So I'm going to say we're going to do gadgets. We're going to spend $100 here. And for gizmos, we're going to spend $300. Google Sheets is fabulous because it does formulas. So I can have it sum, so I can have it add up, things like that. And so I want it to add up exactly what's in my column. I want to know my totals. The cool part about Google Sheets over Excel, and what I love the most, is they recommend and they can almost predict exactly what you're wanting to do. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of creating your formulas. You can also just Google basic formulas if you've never used one before. Again, we're going to go into that class later, but you can do sums, you can do averages, you can have totals linked to different parts of the document. So you can have your budget automatically adding up. You can have it automatically create drop-down lists to make sure that nobody puts a line item in that doesn't fall into a budget category. There's so much that is available to do within Google Sheets. I love it. It's so much fun. And I know I sound like such a dork saying that, but Google Sheets is great. Same thing. You can change all your fonts. You can change your colors. You can do different things within data. You can name your functions. You can extract data. You can clean up files, all kinds of stuff. At a high level, Google Sheets is a spreadsheet. All right, any questions here before we hop to the next one? All right, cool. Next one, Google Slides. I don't want to spend a whole lot here. I'm sure if anything, you guys are more familiar with this than anything else. Everybody loves spreadsheets, making presentations. You have your general meetings, anything that you want to do. Same thing. There are template galleries up here that you can use and that you can choose from. You can, again, everybody can be in this and editing at the exact same time. One thing I do like about, and PowerPoint has the exact same option. But if you are in Google Slides, one thing a lot of people are not familiar with is that you can save it directly as a PNG. So if you're making a slideshow and you want to put put this on your Facebook page or something, you can't put a PDF directly on Facebook. It needs to be a picture, right? So you have that option to come up here and you can download it as a PNG. So if you're not familiar, JPEG and PNG, they're both image files. JPEG is a lower quality. So typically that's if you're going to be emailing a bunch of images, you may want to do it as a JPEG because the person on the other side may have difficulty downloading it. But the cool part about Google is if you just put it in a Google Drive, you can send them to the link of the Google Drive and they don't even have to worry about that. So I will typically recommend always downloading PNG. It's a higher quality file. It's going to look better. You also have the ability to do SVG files. These are called vector files. We'll get into that in our Canva class, but this is mostly if you're designing something in here that you want to send to a graphics company. Like if you're creating a t-shirt, you're creating mugs. A lot of our graphic designers and people who make stuff like that, they want vector files. So you have that option as well. So if you are going to download something, you can download it as images and it downloads whichever file that you're on. So if I just want an image of this one, I can take that image and put it on there. All right. You also have, you've got your tools in here, spell check, you've got a dictionary you can look at. You can insert different videos, shapes, audios, just like you can with PowerPoint. All right. Any questions here? All right, cool. Next, we will hop into calendar. So calendar, again, this one's a pretty common one, and we're trying to get through all of these, so I'm not stopping too much. But what I do want to kind of point out on calendar is it's just like the others. You can share, you can collaborate, just like with all of your other tools, and it's amazing. And everything that you do, remember we talked about setting up those boxes at the beginning. Me as my media email, because I have two different emails, I help with admin, and I am in the media chair. So I have two for that reason. But everything that's in my media chair, email box, every invite that I go to, if I take meeting notes. So if, for example, I create an event and I'm going to invite someone, let's do end event. I'm going to invite Shelly. She's probably like, what are you doing? One of the cool parts about doing this is you can see, if you see all the stuff that popped up, I can now see her schedule as well. So when you set this up, you have two options. Everybody on your team can show their exact calendar or just show their availability. So for example, this is showing Shelly's calendar and it's going to show me the availability. But if I click find a time, it's going to show me when we are both available. So I can do this on a daily view or I can look at the week. So if I'm doing this, you see, I can see where Shelly is not available. Do keep in mind, this does not have their personal availability. So just because it's open doesn't mean that they're there, but it can show kind of when everybody's available or schedule meetings, everybody's available to do that. You can create descriptions. And here's what I love and what you guys may use. So if you create your event, so let's say we're going to make our monthly board meeting. We are going to do our monthly board meeting. Let's say we're going to do it the first Monday of every month. So I'm going to pick the next meeting, which is Monday. We're going to do it again, making this completely up 8 o'clock at night. We're going to change this to repeat. So we can do all of these options, or you can do a custom one. So I want this one to be monthly on the first Monday. Now, the cool part about this is when you do this, it's going to copy this over and over and over and over again. So you can do this a few ways. You can do monthly on the first Monday, but you can have it expire. So let's say we want it to be on the first Monday, but we're not sure what next year's board's going to do. So we're going to have this end May 31st. So what this is going to do, you're going to have a meeting scheduled on the first Monday of every month through May 31st. And then you can edit a specific one individual meeting if you need to. So for example, if a holiday falls on Monday and you guys either push it to Tuesday or the next Monday, whatever the case may be, is you can still edit individual meetings. And what I also love is you can create meeting notes. So you see what this did is it just created a Google Doc, or it will create a Google Doc as soon as I save the event. So you can take notes during the meeting and have them saved right there. So if your secretary takes notes, they can do it right within the board meeting, and everybody who sees it can come right back and reference it at this point. You can also have the secretary can put it in the Google Drive, which is what we do. There's a folder for meeting minutes, and that's what we reference. So those options are available there too. When you do it here, anybody who has access to this meeting can have access to those notes. So if anybody wants to take notes as well, whatever the case may be, you can also do this to attach the agenda to the meeting. You can also just attach it as an attachment. That's also an option. You can create your Google Meet video conferencing once you have Google Workspace. This is free and you can add anybody as many times as you want. And then if you're going to be meeting in person, you can add your description. And then when you add people, you can set your notifications if you want to remind them. And you can do multiple. And same thing, you can do custom here too. And these are pop-up notifications on their phone, which is something I love to do to Shelly, because when I used to help manage her calendar, I'd put stuff on her calendar and she'd forget about it and then it would pop up and she'd be like, oh, I forgot. And how did you do this? I'm like, that's how I did it. I added it to your calendar. So anybody that you're seeing it is going to get it. Your permissions are here as well. You can allow people to modify your event. This can be helpful if you're the secretary, for example, and you may be out of town and someone else needs to edit it. Just keep in mind that when you click modify event, everybody on the event can modify it. You can't just choose one person. You can allow other people to invite other people or see the guest list. You won't typically want to take this off if you're inviting families. This is kind of fun. Like if you're going to do a carnival, you can literally copy paste. You go into Member Hub, you can extract a list of emails. So even if you've got like 300 people, you can paste them right in here. You don't necessarily have to email them, but it will put it on all of their calendars. Now, I will say if they don't have a Gmail account, if they use Yahoo or Webmail or any other email address, it's going to send them an email regardless, because otherwise they won't be able to see it. So you can add all those people in here, but you do want to see the guest list off, because if you're inviting 200 to 300 people, you don't need everybody seeing a guest list and trying to figure things out. You don't want to send your email out to everybody. You want to maintain your family's privacy. You want to just give everyone's email. And also for that reason, because if somebody tries to reply all, it's not going to be fun. And that could also be how spammers get a hold of emails. So if you're doing a big event or you're inviting a whole bunch of people that outside of your board, you do want to take that option off. Now, it's helpful to have it on if it is a board meeting, because then like the president or something can see who has or who has not accepted the meeting. So I'm going to save this. Actually, let me change this to fake meeting, so Shelly doesn't think I'm making meetings without her. So if I send this, again, she has a Gmail account, so I can either go back to edit it. If I wasn't ready, I can, if I don't send it, it's still going to show up on her calendar, but she's not going to get an email. And this could be, I do this with our, when I'm creating public events, for example. So if we're having something that we're sharing from Equality Florida or Seminole County School Board, I don't necessarily need to send an email to everybody. I just want it to be on their calendar so they're aware and they get a reminder. I don't necessarily need to send it. Now, if I'm creating a meeting where everybody needs to go, I want to make sure they get a notification, so I'm going to send it. Now, in this case, I'm not going to send it. And it's asking me about the meeting notes if I want to create and share those. So I made my meeting. And now I can click on it and see who has or has not accepted. So I've accepted. She hasn't got the notification, so she's neither accepted or rejected, but that can let you know who's coming and who's not. All right. Any questions on calendar? Okay, cool. If you guys have any questions, you can stop me at any time. Google Forms, again, not going to go into a whole lot here, but same thing. You have all these templates. You can create quizzes. You can send out polls. You guys are actually going to get one at the end of this class to see a Google form, but these are great. Lots of people have seen these just to fill out, get responses. We have several trainings on this later. So this is the same thing. Once you create one, There's so much you can do, but you can share, you can let other people on your board edit it. If you want to let other people on your board see the responses, you will need to add them as editor. You can export your data into sheets. You can get notifications when you get a new response. And again, we'll dive into this one a little bit later. In the interest of time, we're going to go to the next one. Google Sites. This one, as I mentioned before, if you already have a website set up, you definitely want to go ahead and use that one. So if it's set up through something else, go ahead and do it. If you don't have a website yet, you can use Google Sites. This is where you would use to edit that and edit your website. And then contacts. This one, again, we'll dive into a little bit later, but when you have contacts, you can have it automatically back up, or you can create contacts for your organization. So if I'm going to put in here, I'm going to say Shelly. I'm going to put her name in here, and then I'm going to put her email. So I can save that. Now I've created a contact. So this means that this contact is going to show up easy. It's going to be a lot easier when I go to create an email. And also keep in mind, Google is going to automatically start remembering your contacts. So as soon as someone emails you, Google will save that information. That is a setting you can turn off, but I recommend leaving it on because Google becomes familiar with who you email the most. It will start pushing those people to the top of their contacts list. So if I were to start, like if I go to an email and I hit P, it's probably going to bring her up first because I email her the most. Also gives you the options to merge and fix. So this is if, let's say, Shelly, she's got like 4 different emails. I can combine that all into one contact, and it has all of her information listed together. You can import a contact list. So let's say you have your whole board listed and you make a new board member, you make a new email address. You can export a contact list and then import it to the new email address. You'll have here the frequent contacts. As I mentioned, this shows you who you're contacting the most. And then you can tag people. You can put labels on them. So if I want to, I can, I'm going to add this to contacts. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to add labels. So I can create a label, say she's on the board. That's a label there. So now she's got that label. I can add another label. I can say we're besties, so she gets that label. So you can have multiple labels. And what those labels do is they give you the ability to message all of those people at once. You can also export it, print it, as I mentioned, lots of different stuff that you can do with these labels. You can also create mailing lists. So if you want to do add to your board and just email everyone at once, you don't have to keep typing in names over and over again. That's also super helpful. And again, we'll get into that in one of the later classes. Contacts is basically your phone book. I'm going to talk faster because I'm running out of time. YouTube is here. Most people know what that is. I'll skip it. Maps, yeah, don't think you're really going to need that a whole lot. In PTA, photos is going to be similar to Google Drive, except it's specific to your photos. You can share and label, make folders, things like that. What I do kind of want to go into here is Jamboard before we run out of time. I want to make sure. Google, actually, let me stop. Google Voice. Google Voice is amazing. It gives you the ability for your PTA to have a phone number, but you don't have to give out your personal phone number. And this voice number can be transferred from person to person. However, it costs extra money. If last time I checked, I think it was $8 a month for the PTA to have a phone number, which is not bad if you have the budget for it. And that way it can be passed from president to president. Because your PTA will have a phone number that will stay the same, and then just whoever is managing that Google Voice, you would update that phone number in the background. And what it will do is whenever someone calls that Google Voice number, it will automatically route it to whoever's got the backup number. So I did that when I was a local unit, but you do want to keep in mind in Workspace, your Google is going to cost about $8 a month. If you have a personal Gmail account, it doesn't cost anything. So what I did when I was at a local unit is we had that PTA email that we had before we set up Google Workspace. We created a phone number on that one, and that's the one that gets passed. So that's an option for you, but if you do it within Google Workspace, it will cost some money. And then Google Classroom, you may all be familiar with. If you want to do a training for your parents, if you want to show them about PTA, show them what you've learned, you can absolutely set up classes and things like that within Google Workspace. And lastly here, before we run out of time, I want to talk about Jamboard. Jamboard is kind of a really fun collaboration tool, and you can use it with your families or you can use it with your board. So it's great for brainstorming. So we're going to create a new one here, and I'm going to share if you all want to join with me. So I'm going to share this with anyone with the link. So it's copying that link. I'm going to drop it here in the chat if you guys want to hop in with me. So what Jamboard is you can talk about specific things. So let's say we're going to talk about PTA meetings. I want everybody to give me all their ideas on what is a fun PTA meeting. So we can put sticky notes on here, and I'm going to say snacks. So now we can add snacks as our sticky note. I can keep going. We want water. I'm going to keep putting these sticky notes on here, and we want naps. So that's, I pick pink, and someone else can hop in here and put different things. You can move these around. You can brainstorm. You can edit. You can put pictures in here. You can circle. So let's say we really want naps and water, and then we want to put those here. So this is just really fun to collaborate and like use a laser point or talk to people. I'm going to put some text here. This is kind of fun. Again, it's great for brainstorming. It's almost like everybody has access to one big whiteboard and everybody can color at the same time. Everybody can have fun, ask questions, move sticky notes around, change them, put their own sticky notes. You can just write on it. So you can pick a pen, pick green, put smiley face. If you're trying, let's say you have a map, like you can put a picture on here of a map, and you can be explaining to families like you're going to go this way, then you're going to go that way. This is fun because everybody can get in here and color and have fun and put sticky notes and just this is a great brainstorming tool. All right, in the interest of time, I am going to stop talking now. We went through all of these on a really high level. As I mentioned, we're going to get into all of them later, but if you guys want to, you can go ahead and come off mute and either tell me what you think or ask questions, anything you want to hop back into. Does it track who's leaving the notes? I believe so, yes. I remember how to do that. Maybe, let me see. I want to say that it does, but I don't remember offhand. What I like to do is have different people, use different colors, but I don't remember how to do that offhand. My apologies. All right, I will find out for you, Dara, because it does not look like that is an option anymore. All right, anybody else? What do we think? You can come off mute or type your question in the chat. If not, I will stop recording. Oh, yes, absolutely. The recording is going to be live on our YouTube channel. So I'm actually going to post this lovely little thing here. I'm going to stop. Let me stop the recording now.